John Hilly went to the doctor complaining of muscle pain, nausea, and numbness in his hands. The doctor ran some tests, scratched his head, and told him it was probably stress. Maybe he was working too hard. Maybe he needed rest. John went home, took his medication, and trusted his wife to take care of him. That was the worst mistake of his life, because his wife wasn't just taking care of him. She was the reason he was dying. To understand what happened to John Hilly, you need to understand who Marie Hilly was. Marie was born in 1933 in a small town in Alabama. She was the kind of woman people noticed when she walked into a room. Sharp eyes, a warm smile, and the kind of confidence that made you want to trust her before she even said a word. She married John in 1951. They had 2 kids. By all appearances, they were a normal family living a quiet life in Anniston, Alabama. John worked hard. Marie stayed home. They went to church on Sundays. But behind that front door, something was deeply wrong. People who knew Marie well described a woman who was obsessed with control. She handled every cent of the family's money. She decided what the kids could and couldn't do. She had an answer for everything and an explanation for every problem, and somehow, those explanations always made her look like the victim. Neighbors liked her. Friends trusted her. Nobody questioned her. That's exactly how she wanted it. In 1975, John Hilly started getting sick. It started small. Fatigue, stomach aches. He figured it was age catching up with him. He was in his mid-40s after all, but the symptoms kept getting worse. The nausea became constant. His muscles ached so badly some mornings that he could barely get out of bed. His hands would go numb without warning. Doctor after doctor ran tests and found nothing conclusive. One suggested it might be a nerve condition. Another thought it could be related to something he was being exposed to at work. Marie was always there at every appointment, caring, attentive, taking notes, asking the right questions. Every doctor left those appointments thinking what a devoted wife she was. At home, she prepared his food. She brought him his medicine. She made him tea when he couldn't sleep. And every single day, John Hilly got a little bit worse. What nobody knew, what nobody even thought to consider, was that arsenic has no taste. It dissolves cleanly into food and drink. In small doses over a long period of time, it mimics the symptoms of a dozen different illnesses. It is, in the most horrible way possible, the perfect poison. And Marie knew exactly how to use it. John Hilly died in May of 1975. The official cause of death was listed as infectious hepatitis. Nobody challenged it. Marie collected the life insurance, around $30,000, and moved on with her life with a speed that made some people uncomfortable, though nobody said anything out loud. Within months, she had a new boyfriend. But here's where the story takes a turn that even seasoned investigators found hard to stomach. Marie's own daughter, Carol, started getting sick. The same symptoms, the same progression, the same parade of confused doctors finding nothing definitive. Carol was 19 years old. She was hospitalized. She got worse. At one point, doctors genuinely believed she wasn't going to make it. And through all of it, Marie was there, visiting every day, bringing food from home, being the picture of a grieving, terrified mother. It was only when a suspicious nurse noticed that Carol seemed to get worse after her mother's visits that anyone started asking real questions. A doctor quietly ordered a toxicology screening that hadn't been done before. The results came back and stopped everyone in the room cold. Carol's body was full of arsenic. The moment that toxicology report landed, everything changed. Investigators went back and looked at John's death with completely different eyes. His body was exhumed. Tests confirmed what everyone was beginning to suspect: arsenic poisoning, administered over an extended period of time. A warrant was issued for Marie Hilly's arrest, but Marie was already gone. She had somehow gotten wind that investigators were closing in and vanished, leaving behind her sick daughter, her dead husband's grave, and a town full of people who suddenly couldn't reconcile the woman they thought they knew with what the evidence was showing. For weeks, nothing. No trace of her. Then she turned up in Texas under a fake name. Then Florida. She was arrested in 1979 in New Hampshire, living under the name Robbie Hannon, completely reinvented, new hair, new clothes, new identity, new boyfriend, who had absolutely no idea who she really was. At trial, the evidence was overwhelming. The arsenic levels, the insurance money, the pattern of behavior, her own daughter who survived, testifying about what her mother had done to her. Marie Healey was convicted of murder in 1983 and sentenced to life in prison. But the story of Marie Healey doesn't end at the courtroom door. In 1987, after 4 years in prison, Marie was granted a 3-day furlough to visit family. She walked out of that prison and disappeared again. 3 days later, she was found collapsed on a porch in a small town in Alabama, confused and hypothermic. She died shortly after in a hospital, the same kind of hospital she had sent her husband and daughter to. Some people called it karma, some called it justice. Some said the code simply caught up with her. What I think about is John, a man who trusted the person closest to him completely and paid for that trust with his life. And Carol, a 19-year-old girl who survived being poisoned by her own mother and had to spend the rest of her life carrying that knowledge. Marie Healey fooled everyone around her for years. Doctors, neighbors, friends. An entire town that thought it knew her. And that's the thing about real monsters. They almost never look like monsters. If this story shook you, and honestly it should, wait until you hear what we have coming next week, because the next case makes this one look like a warning sign that nobody took seriously. Stay safe, and maybe think twice about who's making your tea tonight.